Welcome to this episode of Harvey County Talk. As always, I'm your host, Lance Gormley. Our guest on the program today is N.P.D from the Newton Police Department, Josh Hulse. How you doing today, Josh?
Oh, pretty good.
Good. Thank you for coming on the program. I appreciate it. I've been trying to work something out. A lot of people know on the program we're very law enforcement friendly, and we really just want to promote our local people and let everybody know who they are and put a person to the badge, to the face, etc., and be able to just really promote our agencies for all the things that they do. And you're the brave one that decided to do it. So thank you.
Yeah. Because you know me. So.
Yes. Yeah.
That's how that worked out. You're like, hey, you want to come out here?
If people don't know, I've known Josh for about 7 years now. We've been in the same service organization, or civic organization, as people would know, and got to know you through that, and just what type of guy you are, and a good human being that you are. And then I've just watched just your capacity and what you do change and evolve. And there's been a time or two that you've called me and said, "Hey, Lance, I need to talk to you." So your child, so I'm sure many people have gotten a call, in some way or form or fashion that way.
Usually when I introduce myself as, "Hey, I'm the school resource officer at your kid's school," they're like, "Oh, what they do now?"
What do they do? Yeah, that's I've been there, done that. but anywho, so as anybody that watched the program knows, what we really like to do at the beginning of the program is just to get to know who you are. Okay. I honestly know a little bit about you, Josh, but we never sat down face to face for an hour, and just talked about where you hail from, and where you went to school, what you like to do while you were in school. I know that you served in the military for a while. Actually, maybe you're still in the military, but just kind of walk me through that, starting with are you from Newton originally?
So I was born in Wichita.
Okay.
My parents got divorced when I was young, and then my mom remarried. We moved to Newton, and then we moved probably every year and a half to different. I've lived everywhere from Wichita to Salina and everywhere in between.
Okay.
So I've lived in McPherson, Halstead. I think Walton's probably the only one that I haven't lived in.
Really? Really? I didn't know that. Was there, just to get a little more personal, was there a reason behind that, or was it job related, or what?
Yeah, there was a reason. My mom's husband at the time wasn't in the best favor with police.
Oh, interesting. This is getting good.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
So, he'd get in trouble, and then we'd have to move.
Yeah.
And then he'd get in trouble, and then we moved. But we always came back to Newton. Yeah. And it always seems like we always came back. And then when I was in 8th grade, we moved back. I ended up actually moving in with a friend.
Okay.
Because my mom and my sister, and then her then husband, I've had 3 stepdads.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no, 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Current one, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Fifth time's a charm.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this just to lighten that blow a little bit, or whatever, is that having a diversified family is something that's becoming more of the norm in society today. This traditional one mom, one dad family, even though some might think that that's, Mayberry or whatever, that may be something of the past. It's not necessarily how it works today. So you, that tells a lot about you, Josh. I just didn't know that, where, I just got to ask, do you feel like your childhood was somewhat tumultuous?
Looking back on it, yeah. Later on in my middle school era, I just quit really trying to make friends, because I'm I'm just gonna be moving in a year, so why even try?
Okay.
So
now, and so when it comes to that, you said that when you were in 8th grade or whatever, that's a pivotal time, because that's when we as adolescents start to look towards everybody else's life and compare our life to theirs for normalcy, right? Like, oh, dad's the hero, right? Until you get into about 8th grade and you start going, well, these are how these other dads are. So then you start the comparison deal. That's just psychology, right? Of the deal. But you moved out and moved in with somebody else.
Yep.
And
moved
then
in with a friend.
Okay.
And then I ended up actually bouncing around a little bit. So I lived with a friend. I actually lived with my grandma and grandpa in at Park City, but she has a paper that says it's Wichita, so very proud of that. But yeah, so I actually had a farm permit and drove from Park City to Newton High School, like my freshman year.
Okay, so then did you do freshman, sophomore, junior, senior at Newton?
Yep.
Okay, so you got your whole high school years. You were
8th grade, came back and been in Newton. Then, so it was the summer between junior and senior year. I enlisted in the National Guard, went to basic training.
Okay.
Came back, finished out high school. That summer, went back for my advanced training. So learned how to become a cannon crew member.
Okay.
Field artillery.
Okay, so then your National Guard was here locally.
Yep.
Okay, because for those that don't know, we have a National Guard unit here in Newton, and that is, what's their specific name, Josh?
They are Charlie Battery, 1st and 161st Field Artillery.
Okay, that's a mouthful. I'm not going to try to repeat that. Love it. So what do you do? I mean, like, what's, battery, so you shoot some kind of projectile out of something, don't you?
Yeah, so we're self-propelled 155 millimeter howitzer. It looks like a tank. You've probably seen them here before. They'll have them that kind of do like a touch a truck and stuff like that. Well, we've had some commanders that are really involved in the community, and so they'd always bring them out. Cool. People can come crawl through them. They look like a tank. They're not a tank.
They're like they're a mini tank, right?
they shoot bigger bullets than a tank.
Really?
But they shoot them farther. So tanks are more direct fire, so they see what they're shooting at. They'll just see it, shoot it. We fire in an arc, so we're indirect.
So more like
mortars.
Okay, so they tell you mortar. Okay.
Yeah. So there's people out there that see something that they want blown up, so they call back to the guys who sit in the truck with the computer, and they calculate everything. Then they send it to us, and then we just lob a 95-pound projectile, miles down range.
Right. I would say cool. Very cool. I mean, I'd like to see one of them in action, not necessarily on the other end of the action, but I'd like to see that sometime. Yeah.
They're it's really fun and exciting when you're out doing it.
Yeah.
What the recruiters don't show you is all the maintenance and cleaning you have. You remember, you go out to the range, you shoot like a rifle or something, and then you got to clean it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine that with this giant this giant cannon.
It's like 10,000 the size, 20,000 the size of a rifle, right?
Yeah. You have a little bore brush, you punch that down your rifle just like with one hand. It takes like 6 people to do that.
So you got one guy shooting and 5 people cleaning, right?
You just spend all your time, cleaning, getting ready to shoot. And then you go out and you have shoot and you're like, oh yeah, it's really fun. And then you come back and you got to wash all the mud off everything. And because, the military, you can't have anything dirty.
No, of course, because then it wouldn't be operational, right? Yeah. It wouldn't be doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. If cleanliness is next to godliness, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so why military? You decided your junior year summer to be able to go into, enlist, go to basic, came back, did your senior year, and then went to your specific duty training that you had. Why did Josh choose the military?
It was something that I was always interested in. Like it always seemed cool. And then it was shortly after 9/11. So
Okay.
there was that, big surge of patriotism. And
Yeah.
so it was just like, oh yeah, I want to go do that.
Yeah.
And then also they'll pay for your college.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the benefits and then
The benefit, yeah.
Yeah. And then
Give us 6 years of your life and we'll give you college for next to nothing,
Yeah.
if not completely free.
yeah. And so what did that look like when you signed up? It was the National Guard. So I know one of the things about the National Guard is they say, hey, 2 weeks a year, 1 weekend a month. That's kind of what you're supposed to be doing. Did your time with that, being in the National Guard, did it follow suit with that? I mean, you said something about 9/11, and from my own personal understanding, I know that at that point it was all hands on deck. So did you have to go, or did you get to go, or how you look at that as far as going? Were you in Afghanistan and Iraq?
Not Afghanistan.
Okay.
I've been deployed 3 times. First time was Iraq, and that was 22 months.
Okay. Wow.
It was supposed to be 18 months. We went down to Camp Shelby, Mississippi, and trained for 6 months. It was right after Hurricane Katrina, so
Nice.
there's a lot of infrastructure down.
Yeah.
And like the training sites were pretty torn up, and so they took 2 months of training, spread it out over 6 months.
Okay.
To kind of keep some funds
Okay.
down in that region.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like weeks of, well, we don't really have anything on the schedule. You guys want to go to the range? And we're like, okay. They're like, all right, well, put your rucksack on because we're walking out there because we don't have a bus.
Right.
Like, I don't know about this anymore.
Wait, you didn't ask me if I wanted to walk to the range.
Yeah, you just want to go.
I thought that meant, be transported. But
Yeah, no.
And of course, in the military, you probably do a lot of walking anyway. So good training there. Good training,
Yeah. Breaking your boots real good.
Okay, so you're saying that your training, which would normally have been a certain amount of time, was,
They spread it out. Yeah.
And then from there, then
Yeah,
you were on your way.
Yeah, it
or?
was supposed to be 6 months in Camp Shelby, and then a year in Iraq.
Okay.
So
Okay, but that's not the total, right? So
No.
so when you got over there,
so we went to Scania, CSC Scania, so Convoy Support Center Scania. It was a gas station, basically from Talil Air Force Base to Baghdad. They just drove till they ran out of fuel, and then like, okay, let's build a base here.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
strategically anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's basically because you had to stop there, fill up. You were like almost out of fuel by the time you got there, and then you had to fill up and then continue on. So yeah, we're just a gas station,
right? So you're over there, just kind of. There's got to be. I mean, I know there's got to be some culture shock here, right? You come from Kansas. Just even then going over to Iraq, for people that have never been there, kind of what's your consensus of that? If I'm from Kansas and I'm thinking, well, I wonder what Iraq is like. Condense that for me. You laugh about it, so I'm saying it's probably delightful.
Yeah. Where we were at, okay, everyone thinks Iraq is just one big, just like sandbox. Like there's just sand everywhere. Where we were at was actually a little oasis where the Tigris and Euphrates River met.
Okay.
It was like going back in time like 100 years because they were growing wheat.
Really?
And harvesting wheat, but they were doing it with, the scythe and
Really?
the sickle, and they're just like cutting it and throwing it. I did see a Gleaner combine one time driving down the road. I'm like,
where's it going?
Hey, like, I know where those are made.
Right?
That's just right up the road.
Right? So taking it back is what you're saying is, culturally, was it like going back in time? In some ways?
Yeah, in some ways. So, yeah, they made bricks, so they just dig a big pit and then get some, like, clay, put them in there, and they're used motor oil. They dump in there and then light it on fire and cook the bricks that way.
Wow. Incredible. Very resourceful. Yeah.
Yeah. EPA would probably have something to say about that if you started that.
You can't really do that in your backyard in Newton, Kansas, can you?
No.
Okay, so it was prolonged. What was there a reason?
Yeah,
why,
we were actually getting ready. Like we were getting ready to go home. Like we had IRR, which was the inactive ready reserve. The guys because every contract in the military is 8 years.
Okay.
So if you do 6 years, you have 2 years in the IRR.
Okay.
So there was guys that had like 2 weeks left, and then got a letter saying, "Hey, you're being called up to go to war."
Okay.
So it's like a draft, but for people who are already in the military and trained.
Yeah. So like if they need you.
Yeah.
Right.
So these guys were like, "Okay, you're the first to go home. We got to clear up some space for the people coming in." So they were on a plane, taxiing down the runway, and the plane stops, and someone comes on and says, "If you're with the 34th ID, get off. You've been extended."
That's
our
a rough
replacements who were supposed to come got sent to Baghdad for the surge.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
And then they were scrambling, trying to find a unit to come replace us.
Right. And so when you say for the surge, that's where some of us hear about where it didn't matter what your duty was or where you were, what your job occupation was, you were getting a rifle and going and kicking in a door.
Yeah, they were just sending as many troops into Baghdad as they could. So they were pulling everyone.
Yeah.
So
okay. So then you said you'd been deployed. Well, go ahead.
So then they get a unit. They, I think, hodgepodged one together and come replace us, and we finally get home. And it's 22 months.
Wow. Yeah. So that's
so that was 05 to 07.
Okay. Yeah, and then from there you were deployed 3 times though.
Yeah. So then in, I think it was 2011 to 2012, I was in Africa.
Okay.
So there's a Navy, in Djibouti, Africa, right next to Somalia. There is a Navy base. I think the Army has actually taken the base over, but there's a port. So everyone comes in, refuels. So every time a ship came in, we'd go pull security while they were refueling, stocking up on supplies. And
so when you're saying that you went to your second time you were deployed, it didn't have anything to do with like wartime anything. Why is that normal? I mean, getting deployed, most people, at least I was under the impression that if you were deployed in the National Guard, that usually meant that you were going to go to where they were having some kind of an action, right? Or the war, if you want to call it that.
And no, I mean, with the National Guard, we went to Djibouti, Africa, and that was just like peacekeeping. We're just there doing security for the Navy and the Air Force there. And then there's people that have been like deployed to Kosovo, just same thing, just go there, peacekeeping. So
really, so it's all on the table. That's did you know when you signed up for the National Guard? Was that kind of what you thought would happen, or did you think, hey, I'm going to do my 2 weeks a year and 1 weekend a month and be golden? Or did you?
Yeah, that's kind of what my recruiter told me. Yeah, you can always trust a recruiter.
Yes, of course.
They're not like a used car salesman. Actually, my recruiter, when he retired, became a used car salesman. So I was like, so fitting.
Okay, so
yeah, I mean, because he's like, he's like, National Guard, we don't get deployed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer, and the first couple of years,
yeah, you were gone all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it was 1 week in a month. And it was literally just a weekend, so it was just a Saturday, Sunday. You just go and do your thing, and then 2 weeks in the summer. Yeah. Now it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Do you have any insight into that, about why maybe that was the way it was before versus now? Is it just that there's a lack of people that are signing up to be serving, or what?
No, it's just the up tempo. Military is constantly being deployed different places, so they're just it gives active duty a little bit of a break. If you throw in like a National Guard unit, will take a rotation. And
Okay.
so, but yeah, so each state takes turns just going different places. And
So I'm learning something right now. I mean, that's interesting. Okay, so are you still in the National Guard, or did you
Nope.
just do 6 years?
I retired in it was October 31st, 2022.
Okay, so you were in the National Guard for how long?
20 years.
Really?
8 months.
20 years, 8 months. Okay, so that didn't deter you then.
No.
Okay, you went, you were deployed. That's what you did, and then you came back and you did what they asked you to do, and it just never was so much of a burden to you that you didn't feel like you were doing your patriotic duty to serve.
Yeah, and I mean, it was the best part-time job you could have. I mean, benefits are great, and one of the few part-time jobs that offer retirement.
Yeah. Would you recommend that to somebody? If somebody was right now listening to this program and thinking, man, I wonder if if the military's for me, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, the National Guard will help get you like insight into the military. There's people that go National Guard and then like, well, I really like this, so I think I want to do it full time. So then they go and join the active component.
And then I know there's people that are active and then
there's people that do active. They'll do like 6 years active or 4 years active, and then they'll join the Guard.
Okay.
Like they get out and then join the Guard, and like, I liked it, but not every day.
Yeah, right. Well, and there's definitely a place for you there. One way or the other. That's cool. So what was, and I like this, pros and cons. What in your time in the military, what was one of the best things that you liked about it? What's something that, like, maybe one thing or two things? What did you like most about it?
It's probably the most was just that camaraderie, that family that you build with everyone, because you have guys from all over the place. At one point, we had a first sergeant, so he was like the head of the enlisted side. So you have officers and enlisted. So he was like the top of the enlisted side, who was driving from Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he was from Texas and was trying to get up here, and so he was driving from Texas and everything
for his weekend.
Yeah, for his weekend, he'd come up to Texas. So you just meet people from all over, and then especially like when you go to training, you have your different batteries that are from all over.
Okay.
So like there's Dodge City, there's Abilene, so you go get together and you just meet different people, and you get real close.
Yeah.
Especially with the guys that are like in your squad, you get real close with them.
Yeah.
So they're like family.
Like a family. Well, we would say a brotherhood, but there's a potential for there to be, females. Yeah. So you're a family. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So opposite side, what was one of the things that was the most difficult for you during that time?
Oh, I think the thing I probably least like now is there's mandatory training you have to take. It comes down from the Army. You have to have this much training. So you have to have this many hours of suicide prevention, this many hours of sexual assault prevention, this many hours of this, all this different training, like driving classes, like accident avoidance, and all these classes. And one of the full-timers, he's like, because it gives you a standard of time, like it should take you this much time. He went through, and according to the Army standard, there were more hours of training than there was in a drill like in a drill year. He's like, if we do all the training to standard by the time, then that's all we do.
Yeah.
We'll just sit there. And I think it's just gotten so political.
Yeah.
And
so the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
I mean, and
it's everyone jokes about the suicide prevention client, like, because it's the same one over and over. You're just like, okay, I've heard this. Like, I got it. Can we do anything? Can you at least change the slide, like the accident avoidance.
Yeah.
It's the same one. You got, Staff Sergeant Jones teaching you how to, not drink and drive,
Yeah.
or don't go speeding down the highway on a motorcycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
you're like, okay, can we at least change it?
Yeah. And do you think because of you being in for so long, then you probably watch those videos a lot?
Yeah. It's,
Somebody that's new be like, wow, that was really informative to me.
like,
You're like,
"Oh,
well,
okay,
after 16 times of watching it, you won't think it's,
just wait.
I love it. At what point in time, you work part-time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at what point in time did you come to the, well, I don't know how I want to ask this question. When you were is being a law enforcement officer the first thing that you did? I mean, did you have another job before you became a law enforcement officer while in the National Guard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you do?
All right. So my first job was working at Dillon's.
Okay.
Yeah. When I was 16, worked at Dillon's, started, at the bottom. I was just a bagger. So I just, paper or plastic.
Yeah.
Double bagged. Okay. Double bag paper. Yeah.
Whatever you need.
It's like double bag paper, but don't put too much stuff in it.
Yeah.
And why are we double bagging it? Do you need bags? I'll just give you some. Like, make my job easier.
Here, just throw some bags in there.
Yeah,
and
I'll
throw
just
some stuff
throw some
on top
bags
of
on
it.
top, and you just have them.
Those are for my dog.
Yeah. So then became a cashier and just kind of worked my way up, and then I was the front end coordinator, so in charge of all the cashiers, making sure they got their breaks if they needed any help, and
Okay.
so.
And this was during the time that you were a National Guard at the same time. So you'd go away and they'd let you have your job when you came back, basically, right?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And
then I went, so then became cashier, and then started after high school, started stocking the shelves at night there, and then went to Walmart doing the same thing, stocking the shelves.
Right.
Yeah. Got a little bit of a raise, and
yeah. Because that was was that when Walmart just showed up here, or was it?
it was a little bit later. So yeah, it had been about 2003, 4-ish.
Okay.
Went to Walmart, worked there. Then I got deployed, was gone for 22 months.
Wow.
Came back. And when I was gone, actually bought a house out in Marion County on 13 Mile Road.
Okay.
So I went out there, didn't want to drive to Walmart. So I started working at the honey factory in Hillsboro
Okay.
as a maintenance guy, just helping install these new ovens. Like, I learned a lot about honey. It's not just you go to the hive, scrape it, throw it in a bottle. No, they have like
YouTube videos are lying to me. Then.
yeah. I mean, that's that raw honey. Yeah. But the stuff that's in the bears, like it's a lot. Like they have, like, there's a science behind it. Like it has to be a certain color and this, and they mix like darks with lights to get that color, and
Okay.
you got to heat it up. And I learned honey never expires.
That's correct. So for you doomsday preppers.
Yeah. If it crystallizes, just take your little bear and put it in some like boiling water, and it'll go back to good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it never expires. I don't know.
It doesn't.
It's just bee puke.
It
So
doesn't. It doesn't ever.
yeah. But yeah, we get these giant like 55-gallon drums from places like Canada to Texas, and just all this different honey, and what the bee eats or pollinates influences the taste of the honey.
Okay.
So yeah, they have some that is like from Florida where they do like all the oranges.
Okay.
It has an orange flavor to it.
Really?
Yeah.
So then how do they mitigate? I mean, I just got to know, how do they mitigate that? How do, like when you're trying to, for the consumer, have a consistent color, flavor, texture, the whole thing.
Yeah.
How
so they
does
buy
that?
from the same bee farmers. There's big money in bees.
Okay.
They just go and pollinate, and then they just have their hives. And So then they'll ship that honey. So they just keep buying from the same people, and they know that these bees are on clover, so they can take that and mix it. And so they mix it, and they take samples, and they'll make sure it's the right color.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I didn't ever expect in like a honey factory to see a room, like a white room with people in like lab coats and like all these test tubes. I'm like, oh,
What actually happens here? Is this like a
is this a front? what are we making? Wow. Oh, honey.
Oh, okay, yeah. We're making honey. Whatever you call it, that's what it is. Well,
Yeah.
But okay, so you're doing that.
Yeah. Then from there, I went to AGCO.
Okay.
I became a CNC brake operator. Never did that before, but I could read blueprints thanks to some engineering classes I took in high school.
Very cool.
Read blueprints. Are like, okay, that's the hardest thing to learn.
Yes.
We'll teach you everything else.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that for 2 years, got laid off. In between, so I got laid off, and then I went to Africa. So, I mean, it kind of worked out for me.
I guess in some weird way.
Yeah, came back, and I was like, man, I'm never working at AGCO again. And I went back and worked at AGCO.
I mean, if you have a job waiting on you, right? You kind of do that.
So, I mean, it wasn't that one way. I got laid off. So, I mean, they were like, oh, you're no longer an employee.
Okay.
I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So then came back from Africa, went back out there and became a machinist. And I'm like, I can run a CNC brake. Like, can you read a blueprint? And I'm like, yeah.
I mean, I did work here before.
Yeah, I mean, I worked here before. I can read blueprints. I can read your guys' blueprints.
Yeah, the ISO prints.
Yeah, I'm like, I've actually seen that blueprint before. You see this little line where it says like 15 degrees? Yeah, I used to put that in there. They're like, all right, well, now you're just going to drill holes.
All right. Whatever you need, my man.
As long as you can teach me how to do it.
So you came back. You're working at AGCO.
Working at AGCO. Did that for 2 years. And then I saw the writing on the wall.
And when was that? What year was that?
Oh, that would have been like 2012 to 14.
We worked there together, Josh.
Yeah. I started seeing the writing on the wall. I went from being a machinist to, because they didn't have any work, walking down and pulling parts off of the paint line.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And then a kid that they just hired like 2 weeks before that, they turned around and laid off. And I'm like, I've seen this before.
I was there during that time. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep. I went from a welder to taping boxes together.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind. I was still making machinist money, pulling parts off.
Yeah. You're paying me my wage. I'll do whatever you want me to do.
I mean, this is just mind-numbing.
Yeah.
Just pull it off, put a little styrofoam wrap around it, set it in a little bucket, and repeat.
Yeah. So you saw the writing on the wall, which you're probably right, because during that time, I remember lots of layoffs, lots of downtime.
Yeah, they said, "Oh no, there's not any layoffs." They told me that the first time.
Yeah, we better be careful not to talk bad about AGCO, because I tell you what, that's kind of consistent with.
Yeah, it just seems like it's
just manufacturing.
It's manufacturing. It's just their cycle that they kind of go up and then they go down. Business starts booming and then it goes down, so then they lay everyone off and then it starts to go back up, so they bring them all back.
Yeah, pretty much. So you didn't want to retire from AGCO.
Didn't want to retire from AGCO. I didn't want to. I don't think I could have retired from it. It's been every 2 years.
If you had just stayed there long enough, you'd have been bumped up that little thing, and enough to where
they said if you could make it past a layoff, then you're golden.
Yeah. Sometimes too.
Yeah. You just got to get past that.
It's like
I could never get past it. I was like, all right. So at that time, Newton Police Department had 2 openings. So I applied, tested. There was 2 days of testing, 25 people each in each test group. And then I got picked out of the 50 people.
Very cool.
for one of the positions. And
What made you want to do that? I mean, I can't believe that being a law enforcement officer is something that like you're just like, well, I don't want to work at AGCO, so
I'm tired of factories.
I'll be a cop.
I'll go be a cop.
No, I don't think so.
It's something like, even as a kid, like I always wanted to, either be in the army or be a cop. And it was just kind of one of the things. Like I ran around, we played cops and robbers. Like I had handcuffs. I'd handcuff everyone.
Yeah, just wanted to be.
Always wanted to be a cop. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I've got a family. I just need to like have a job, support them.
Yeah.
So.
And then that so then how does that start out for somebody that says, hey, I want to be a police officer, I'm going to go and apply, and you apply and you make it through, and then from there they tell you you're hired, then what do you expect from
the
that?
The hiring process is a whole thing. So you put your application in, then they'll invite you to testing. So I took a written test, passed that, and then had to go take the physical agility test, which is like you go out to Centennial Park and you're like in a car and they give you a description of a guy and they're like, go. Yeah. And then you have to like run out of the car, go run over to the little t-ball field and jump over a 6-foot fence, and then go over and jump it over again, and then sprint over and drag this 100-pound mannequin up the hill and go through the playground area, and then they have a whole bunch of pictures on the table, and they're like, all right, remember the number for the guy that matches the description. And then you go and you have to do like 15 push-ups, and you run, go over a picnic table and touch the car.
And you got to do that within a certain amount of time. Yeah. So you did that.
So did that, yeah.
Although that might sound easy, I'm sure there's some that cannot do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's some people, I mean, they try and set like a world record in it.
Yeah.
You just got to pass it. There's no extra points for if you can do it in 10 seconds. After being hired on and watching people test, I mean, it can get a little comical. I saw one guy like Superman over the picnic table. Right. It's like Ryan like dove over it, and I'm like, oh, that's one way of doing it.
He's a go-getter. They're watching me. They're going to see me.
Yeah. Everyone's always nervous because every time you hear that there's testing, you go out there and you'll have like 6 cops watching you. It's like,
I better outperform.
You're like, oh, go. Like, all right.
Just don't get injured while you're doing that. Then you won't get the job.
Yeah. So then once you pass that, then you go and do an interview, and it's usually a panel of 4. They'll sit there and they'll ask you questions, and like, why do you want to be a cop? Oh, I was bullied in high school, so
yeah.
Like, oh, you're hired.
We want all those people bullied. No, you can't say that, Josh.
No, that's what everyone thinks. Oh, you're a cop because you're bullied in high school. Like,
it's like
no, like I wasn't super popular, but like a lot of people knew like who I was. Like, I wasn't bullied. I mean, I was on the football team, and I was also on the swim team. So
I'll tell you this: I'm a firm believer, in all the officers that I've interviewed and that I know, that the majority of officers want to be cops, if you want to call it that, because they really want to protect and serve. I mean, truthfully, and I don't think that's lost on anybody. That if you can help protect people, if you can be there to help somebody in need. These kind of things are what most people conjure up, not the, I just can't wait to go bully people.
Yeah, you're just picking on people.
No, actually, I don't want to do that.
No, I don't.
But so they ask you a bunch of questions, and they're just random questions.
They just, talk about everything from your life. What have you done up to here? Because you got to be 21 to be a cop. So a lot of people will go to college to fill that gap.
Yeah.
From 18 to 21. I recommend if you're going to college and you want to be a cop, go for something not criminal justice.
Okay.
Just in case you get there and you're like, oh, this is nothing like Live PD.
Yeah. I watch Cops Reloaded, and this is not true.
This is not it. We're all the police chases, or foot chases.
Right.
No, you're going and talking to someone about their neighbor's barking dog.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Most of the time.
that's the real reality of it. And this hours and hours of paperwork, 15 minutes of fun is about an hour's worth of paperwork. They don't show that. Like, all right. So in this episode of Live PD,
and then the pressure of all of it, I would think, like, especially with documenting and going through, because, well, your job is highly dictated by state statute, legal statute, the whole thing. I mean, there's just
there's criminal side of law and there's the civil side of law. We don't get involved in the civil side of law.
Right.
If we tell you it's a civil matter, it's because it's not a crime. So we can't get involved.
Yeah. And that might be, I mean, I could imagine that you probably get a lot of, well, just agencies in general get a lot of that, where somebody's calling the police and wants you to do something about A, B, or C, and then you're like, well, can't really do anything about that.
Yeah, it's like, I can't do that. You can take them to court, and sue them civilly.
Yeah.
Take them to small claims court or something.
Yeah. So when you became an officer, you had to go through like training and stuff. So they hired you, and then you went.
Yeah. So I did the interview. Then you have to do a polygraph, which is super fun. I recommend everyone take a polygraph. You fill out this packet. It's probably like 150 pages. It seems like. I mean, it's like a novel that everything that you've ever done, where you've lived, everything, like all the crimes you committed. Did you ever take bubble gum out of your mom's purse without asking her?
Really?
Yeah. Like all kinds of different, just crazy questions, but you just go through, and then they go through all the questions with you. But the polygraph part is actually fairly straightforward. It is, other than what we've discussed, have you committed any crimes?
Okay.
And you're just like, no. Like, you're like, I might have taken a candy bar, I don't know, out of my sister's room. I don't know.
At some point, I mean,
right now I'm just so nervous. Like I'm trying to think of every crime I've ever committed.
Yeah, like
I jaywalked over when I walked in here.
Like I'm not lying. Yeah, so I'm sure that would be nerve wracking.
Yeah. So I mean, you're just hooked up, and you got this thing that goes around your like diaphragm, so it can tell like how deep you're breathing and everything. You got all these electrodes on you, and it can tell you how much you're sweating and your heart rate. And
right. So you passed it.
Yeah, passed it. I passed it.
I'm guessing if you don't get the job.
Yeah.
So you passed it, right?
Yeah. I would recommend if you've committed some major crimes, don't try and become a cop. Or go through with the polygraph. It's weird the things people will confess to while hooked up to that machine. It's like, well, sorry, you didn't get the job, but also you're under arrest.
Okay, that has happened. I know that has happened.
That has happened. We have open cases, we have closed cases.
So what you're saying is that 10 years ago, this report that we have is an open case is you.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
We laugh about it, but it's, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. So
yeah, and then you have to go do a psych test, which is just a lot of questions of, do you love your mom? Yeah. Do you love your mom more than your dad? Well, I mean, he wasn't really part of my life, so a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Would you kill your dad for your mom?
No. Like what? I don't. No.
No.
You can't answer that. I don't think so. Because then you're like, whoa.
I'm like, no. I mean, that's just, and it's just like, I think there was like 150 questions, and you have like 15 minutes. It's like, just fill out as many as you can.
Right.
And at some point, they just start repeating themselves.
Let's just make sure you're not lying.
Yeah, just make sure.
So you're telling me you wouldn't kill your dad? Well, no.
Yeah, make sure you're not in love with your mom. Yeah. You love your mom. You're just not in love with your mom.
I like that.
I'm like, what? No. Just to make sure that you're not secretly crazy.
Yeah. Well, at least hopefully not.
Well, hopefully not.
Yeah. Some people are better at it than others to be secret when they're crazy. But
yeah. But yeah, there's like 3 of those. So there's like 15 minutes. You got to answer these questions, and then there's like another one, and he'll be grading that one while you're doing this other one. Just all these different multiple choice, yes, no, true, false questions, and
right.
It's just like, oh. So then after that's all done, then they're like, all right, yeah, you're good to be a police officer.
So it's not something that's like, I'm thinking people think that, somebody who, it's like other jobs. It's not like other jobs.
No, it's
just
not like, oh, you have the interview and then, oh, can you start next week?
Yeah, we like you. You seem like a nice guy.
It was about like a 6-month process.
Okay.
Of going and doing all this different stuff. Then they got to wait. And then, of course, you got to go do the UA and make sure that, you're arresting people for drugs while not using drugs.
Yeah, well, of course, that would make sense. I mean, who'd think?
It's not the 70s.
Okay. There, at any point in time, they can just say, nope. Any point in time during this 6 months, if there's anything that they think that could quite possibly, because there's a lot of, and I hate to use the word authority, but there's a lot of trust that's placed in you and other individuals that choose this path to serve their community. I mean, it's not like, any other job you've ever applied for.
Yeah. And so then once you're hired on, then you can go to the police academy.
Okay.
Because it's not like firefighters where you have to go get a degree in fire science before you can become a firefighter. You have to be hired on with an agency before you can go to the police academy.
Okay.
So then went there. That was 14 weeks, but I was lucky enough that I had Thanksgiving and Christmas thrown in there.
Okay.
So it went from 14 to 17 weeks.
Okay. Man, you just get prolonged all the time. It's like, 18 months to 22 months.
And then on those breaks, you don't just oh yeah, it's Thanksgiving break, I'm just going to take off. And they're like, nope, you're going to come in and work. You're going to ride around with someone. You can't really do anything. I mean, you can talk to people and get their information, but you're not going to be out on your own arresting people. You're not certified yet. So
right.
Just go take that accident report.
Yeah. So then everybody that is in law enforcement or is hired goes through the same process that you're talking about. And then,
and it could be longer. It could be longer, shorter. I mean, it really depends. I think now it's a little bit shorter because when I put my application in, like I said, it was everyone wanted to be a cop then.
Yeah.
It was before really the country kind of turned their opinion on law enforcement. So but so it's probably a little bit shorter than 6 months. But from when I put my application in to when I got hired on, it was about 6 months.
And that you think that had a lot to do with just how many people? Just the process.
They got to go through and vet all the applications because you're only going to get. I mean, if they just Google your name and it just shows you in this orange jumpsuit, and well, not that guy.
Dang it! It wasn't me. There's your picture right there.
Yeah. Or this guy dropped out of high school and never got a GED.
Yeah.
Nope.
Gotta have And so then when you did the training. All law enforcement, regardless of agency, has to go through the training.
Some like Wichita has their own academy, which it's longer than the one at KLETC up in Hutch. but they also throw in their field training program. So then it's like you're learning all this stuff, but then you're learning all the Wichita stuff too. So it's more focused. Whereas KLTC, it's everywhere in the state. You could have people from Colby. You can have people from, way like out west, like Dodge City. I don't know what's past Dodge City. I don't know.
Yeah.
Besides Fields.
Yeah. Fields in Colorado and Oklahoma and New Mexico. Somewhere in there.
Yeah. You could have someone from like Fredonia or Independence, and they all come there. So they just teach just a general Kansas law, and this is what a way of doing it.
Yeah.
So you go through there, and like we just tell everyone to smile and nod. Don't argue with your instructor about that's not how Newton does it.
Yeah, right.
They just got to teach everyone.
Yeah. From
people that they're the only officer on at a time to people that have 40 officers on at a time.
Yeah.
They just got to teach everyone. So it's just a very generic.
Just basic training.
Yeah, it's just basic training. This is Kansas law, so learn that because that doesn't change no matter where you go.
Yeah, yeah. What's so once completed with that, then you came out and you became a patrol officer.
Well, you go to with Newton, we have to have 14 weeks of field training.
Okay.
So now instead of riding with someone's riding with you.
All right, so tell you what
you're
you're
in
doing
you're in the driver's seat, and like that first couple like weeks, I mean, they're like, hey, turn here, hey, no, we're on the west side. We need to go to the east side.
Right.
It's East 6th, not West 6th.
Not Southwest East 6th.
Yeah. West.
Gotta love Newton. Gotta love Newton.
Yeah. So they're there to help train you into becoming a police officer for Newton, not just a general. So how we do stuff, how we talk on the radio. Some people use 10 codes. Some people use plain speech. We kind of have like a hybrid. I mean, we still say 10-4. And most people know like 1022 means disregard.
Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite's 1010. That's lunch break.
I love it.
Yeah, 10-8, 10-6, 10-7. So 10-8 is I'm available. 10-6 is I'm busy. And then 10-7 is I'm out of service.
Okay.
So do that. But then also we can just like, I'm in service.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm out here. I'm going traffic. Yeah.
Yeah.
KHP, that's all 10 code. And like I'm 1044 at the 299. And like listen to them someday. I'm like,
let me get out what is the manual
like,
here? What is 1022?
Yeah. They're like, what is this? I'm like, I don't know. And then like every time they go in service, it's, I'll be 10-8, codes 1, 3, 4. It's weather codes. Right. what they're giving out. It took me a long time. Like, what are they talking about? Like, oh, it's weather codes. Like 2 is sunny or 4 is cloudy.
Really? Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
See, and for people that don't know that language, they wouldn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be, yeah.
But we just, in a stressful situation, we just use plain talk. Like, you don't have to do codes or anything because in a stressful situation, especially new officers, they're like, shots fired. Like, 10, 10 help.
I guess most people, I'm going to say, and this was news to me too, not all police officers do the same thing, right?
No.
So you have patrol officers, you have ranking system when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. You have detectives. So when people are seeing somebody in uniform with a badge, that doesn't necessarily mean that all police do the same job. Is that a true statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct. So, I mean, you start out patrol. Like everyone starts out patrol. That's with Newton, that's your entry level job. And some people stay on patrol their entire career. they might move up the rank. So you got patrol officer, and then you have N.P.O, so master patrol officer, which is what I am, just above patrol. And then you have corporal, which is a supervisor. Sometimes, like, then you have sergeant, and sergeant is the top of the shift. So they have a corporal, maybe an N.P.O, and then officers. So, and then above them is lieutenant, and those are your division heads. So you have a patrol lieutenant and a lieutenant of investigations, a support services lieutenant, and then deputy chief and chief. Then you can branch off and go to investigations, and you have like detective 1, detective 2, and there's 1 detective sergeant. So that's a little bit harder job to get.
Yeah. You're like the boss of the detectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then support services is animal control and school resource officers is what I'm a school resource officer, so I fall under that support services. Unless, summertime, I get kicked back to patrol. No kids in school, no reason for you to be there.
Okay. So I got a question. It's interesting. You being a school resource officer, what does that, I mean, you obviously started in patrol and then you moved up through there. You became the position that you are, specialized, and then you obviously had to apply to be a school resource officer. It wasn't like they came in and said, hey, we need one. You're the guy, or whatever. So what interested you in pursuing that?
It was Chad Gay. Yeah. He was my school resource officer, and just how he interacted with all the kids and everything. I'm like, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
It was one of the reasons that I became a cop.
Really?
Like seeing him, like, oh yeah, that's cool. I mean,
yeah,
not all cops are bad guys.
Yeah, right.
Like, some of them are cool.
Like what does some of your day-to-day look like?
It's really different. Like most days, I'll be at Santa Fe and then Northridge and Sunset. So I try to start my day out at one of the elementary schools, kind of like high-fiving them, greeting them as they come in.
Yeah.
And bell rings, I'll go in there and kind of just make sure everyone, guys need anything? No? All right, cool. And then I'll go to Santa Fe. And,
making everybody sure all the elementary kids are safe and secure, and know that time in which there's the vulnerability with everybody coming in and coming out. You're there to make sure they're safe.
Try and start at one of the elementary schools and then go to Santa Fe. And I made the mistake before of popping into an elementary classroom, just like, oh hey, I'm a school resource officer, and the teacher looked at me like, I mean, if looks could kill.
Because it's Officer Hulse!
It's a police officer! Because in elementary school, you're still cool to the kids. High school, not so much. You pop in there and they're like, oh, who's going to jail now?
That's so wrong.
You're like, oh, who's he here for? But yeah, you pop in there and they're like, ah. And she's like, I just spent the last 10 minutes getting them calmed down and in their seats, and you ruined that.
You're like, well, that's my job.
Yeah, so I'm like, I try not to. If they invite me, I'm all about that. I'll go talk to your class, and it's usually that first couple minutes, and they're all like going crazy and like, oh, you want a sticker?
Yeah, everybody wants a sticker.
I don't pull out stickers in schools. Because if you pull out one, you better have like 300 more. Because like they'll just come out of the woodwork.
So I want a sticker. Stickers. I gotta love stickers.
Yeah, even at the high school.
Yeah. Hey, you give me one of those.
Yeah.
I'm gonna walk around.
Like, oh yeah, give me a sticker. You're like,
it's a little old for stickers.
Yeah. Didn't you run from me last night? Give me no sticker.
So okay. When it comes to that, I'll have to say, in my own life, I was the same. I'm not going to say I was on the wrong side of the law by any means, but But I'll say, I mean, I'll make the statement. You didn't make the statement, but I'll make the statement to say that usually 9 times out of 10, individuals who don't like police are usually the ones that are on the receiving end of getting in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say that's the case, or somebody in their family, or some way that they
their interaction with police have not been positive.
Yes, that's a good way to say it. You said it. You said it better than I did, right?
They're either, especially like with kids that don't like it, it's probably because we came to their house and mom or dad went to jail because there was a fight, and Kansas law says we have to make an arrest when it's a domestic violence situation.
Yeah.
Like if we have like probable cause it, like his nose is bleeding.
Yeah.
Your hand's hurting.
Yeah. There's not anything you can do.
There's not anything you can do.
You're bound by it.
You just told me you punched him in the face.
Yeah.
Like you have to go to jail.
Well, and I think a lot of people have a misconception too that it comes down to preference for you all, and it doesn't.
Yeah. No.
Like you would rather.
We have officer discretion
jail,
on
right?
a lot of stuff, but there are mandatory arrests, like DUI. We can't, like the good old days, like when your grandpa was driving around and cop pulls him over and like, all right, I'm just gonna follow you home. Yeah, no, not anymore.
Yeah.
They have to go to jail.
Yeah, or like in a domestic violence situation.
Yeah, domestic violence. Kansas just got tired of, no, I don't want to press charges, and then turns out that they turn around and do it again that same night.
Or somebody gets worse. It just progresses until
So it's just not, it's not that person wants you to go to jail. It's you have to go to jail because like, oh, I don't want to sue charges. All right, cool. You're not. The state is.
Yeah. It's not.
It's the state of Kansas.
Yes.
Pursuing charges.
Yeah. And so when you're dealing with the youth in our schools and stuff, and speaking of Chad Gay, and I've had him on the program twice, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that, yes, in fact, I knew who Chad was as a school resource officer, and he made an impact in my life, and just a lot of that positive support and somebody that can encourage and go to, for anybody that mistakes to think that the school resource officer is there to criminalize your children, it's a misconception.
The last thing I want to do is arrest a kid or even charge them with a crime. I'd rather talk to them about what happened so they know why it's wrong.
Yeah.
And then also talk to them to maybe prevent things from happening.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there are crimes that happen in school. In this day and age, there are people who want to hurt the youth.
Yeah.
So that's really the reason I'm there, for the safety of the kids and staff.
Yeah. Because they look at
that's my top priority.
Yeah.
Now
is that this won't be a soft target on my watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's still drugs coming into the schools, so that's trying to keep them out of the school.
Yeah.
I tell kids all the time when I bust them with THC vape pens, like, look, I'm a realist. I know there's nothing I can say to you in this 5 minutes that's gonna make you just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna quit using drugs. I'm gonna quit smoking marijuana. Like I know that's not, just don't bring it to the school.
Yeah.
And introduce it to other kids who might be on the fence, oh, well, I'll try it. And then next thing you know, they're addicted to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and with today's day and age, fentanyl and everything else that's going around.
Yeah. You don't know what it is. I mean, they make fentanyl into anything.
Yeah. Add it to anything.
Yeah. They add it to anything. Yeah. They make it look like pills.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, I'll take one of those. And nope, that's just all fentanyl.
Yeah. Yeah. And then where are you at? You got a youth that, when you talk about those situations, I guess this will lead into my question about, because of what I'm projecting onto the conversation to say pros and cons. What's one of the and I'll flip it around. What's one of the most challenging things for you when it comes to being a school resource officer?
Oh, probably the most challenging are just the kids that have been hurt, like sexually abused. I mean, that's probably one of the hardest. Like, kid sex crimes are probably one of the hardest things. And that's what keeps a lot of officers out of the schools. Like, they don't want to be a school resource officer because they think that it's just every day you're getting, 10 sex cases. And it's not like that.
And when you mean that, you're saying in reference to like kids that come to school that's been victimized outside of school. Mm-hmm. And you're the go-to person for them to say, hey, this happened to me. And
and a lot of times it'll be either reported to like a counselor or a teacher.
They're a mandatory reporter.
So they have to, they make a DCF report. Sometimes they make a DCF report. Sometimes they just like, hey, little Johnny needs to talk to you. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like it when they do that. I'd rather them like, hey, like they come into my office, shut the door. I'm like, hey, I've got a kid who just said this, and this. Not just like, hey, he needs to talk to you. Bye. Yeah. I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. And then they're like,
you have a good weekend? And there's like, blah. And I'm like, so no, that wasn't a good weekend.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough because you're dealing with little hearts, minds, and lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
I would think that would be. And then the flip side, what is one of the things that you feel are the most rewarding things about being a school resource officer?
Oh, just that connection with the kids. Like, it's awesome. Like, I walk through Walmart and people are like, Officer Hulse. I'm like, how's it going? They're like, you look different in a uniform. I'm like, yeah, I have normal people clothes. like I don't just sit at the school and just wear this all the time. I know it looks the same, but it's really not the same clothes. I do change clothes. It's it's difficult when you're a school resource officer. You're like, what am I going to wear to school today? Is it? I think blue polo and khakis. Or do I go with the blue polo and khakis?
How about the khakis and blue polo?
Yeah, khakis and blue polo. Oh, I like that combo. Which one do I want?
You're kind of uniformed out, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
But so if Josh, I guess. I know you, and I know where your heart's at, and I know that you're somebody that truly loves your community. We've had these conversations. I mean, I know you long enough to know this, and to know that one of the things that you really enjoy doing is giving back in that way in which you are doing what you do in your capacity. I would say I appreciate it. We appreciate it. I know my kids, appreciate it. And you know my kids.
Yeah.
But I love it.
You got a son that just sometimes I think he's just seeing how far he could push the envelope, really just to like push the buttons of the admin at the high school, and I'm just like.
Well,
you told him to take his sunglasses off. He walked past you and he put it back on. I'm like,
it's not funny as a parent, it's not. But
I think it's funny. I'm like,
I mean, kids are great. They're evolving their own personalities. I mean, and if you asked me and you told me, he did that, I'd be like, you can't do that. Don't stop doing that. Don't do that. I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, do you want to challenge it? Well, I just think it's funny. It's like, it's not funny to them.
Like, that's a school policy. I'm like, I go, if Bristol sees you, he's going to,
I know.
He's going to blow a gasket.
It's like, let me go find him. I'll lay glasses on, walk by and wink at him, I don't know. It's all in good fun, I think. I don't know. There's our youth just are so important. And, us as a community just have got to realize that, well, we just want to get this, like I tell people with parenting and stuff, I'm just trying to get them to survive and not to commit crimes until, we're old enough to realize long-term consequences. It might be funny, you might be pushing this, but I always try to bring it back to the fact that, it doesn't matter whether you respect the person or not or whatever. You have to respect the position, because that's all of society. You don't have to respect your boss to be able to do what they say, or you're not going to have a job. You're not, I mean, it's school. You got to respect your teachers, whether you like them or agree with them or not. There's an element of them being the authority figure, and just, making sure you have respect for them. I mean, it's something that's needed. Do you find that generally speaking, that you're fairly well received, Josh?
Yeah. There's a lot of kids that I joke around with, and like when I was at the high school, there's a group of kids that would come in and just kind of sit down and just like chit chat, and like, I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be seeing the nurse. I'm like, then go see the nurse. Well, I already did.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out.
I just wanted to see what you were doing. And I'm like, well,
I can't give you a pass.
like, just go.
Just go.
And then some like, oh, can I eat lunch in your office? I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be in there. Like, is it open? I'm like, yeah. Just, tell Pauline that it's okay. I said you could do that.
Yeah.
She can call me on the radio.
And sometimes they need a break.
Yeah, they just want to go in there because it's quiet. I'm like, all right, I get you.
Yeah.
Like,
our society is very difficult for kids, I think. They're being pushed and pulled in all the different directions and stuff, and I think it's interesting and a needed thing that we have SROs in schools.
Yeah.
Because you're a positive role model, Josh.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is just to show that, hey, cops are just regular people that wear a funny outfit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
we're not superhuman. So, I mean, we all have flaws. Like, I can't grow hair.
Well, you grow facial hair.
I grow facial hair. It's melting.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thankfully, Chief has agreed that we can have beards within standard. I mean, you can't just have, Duck Dynasty beard running around. But it took some persuading and talking, and but he finally allowed us, like, oh yeah, you can, right, beards year round. Like,
very cool.
He's like, but if it's out of standard, if it gets crazy, I'm gonna tell you to shave it.
Right. It'll just back to normal, back to clean shaven. What I guess what I always do, I mean, we kind of went long, so it's because we've talked and conversate before. So just one thing I do before we end the program is I always give the individual that I'm interviewing the chance to speak directly to the hearts and the minds of anybody listening, and it can be on any topic, any subject. It's just whatever you want to say. Josh, Officer Hulse.
Oh yeah, put me on the spot.
What do you got to say?
Just know that the cops in this town, I can't speak for all cops, but the cops in this town, we're not out to get anyone. Like, we don't just pick on one person or a group. Like, and then also, if you can handle it civilly with your neighbor's barking dog, maybe go over there and knock on him and go, hey, I work third shift. Let's try that, and let's just not jump to calling the cops on everything. Yeah. So, if you can, I think we've lost that in society, that being able to just go talk to your neighbor. A lot of people don't even know their neighbor's name. They can just go meet them. So, yeah. And I will joke with your kids. All right. That's what I do. So, if your kid goes to Santa Fe, I'm probably going to joke with him. Ask him about George. He's the skeleton that I brought. So like last year, George was all over the place. A lot of kids just like, oh, George. And a lot of teachers were like, George.
Again.
Yeah, especially when, he's in the staff bathroom sitting on the toilet and they walk in and flip on the light. I like joking around.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep it light.
Yep.
Keep it light. But you're the man, Josh. I appreciate you. I appreciate you braving and coming out here and representing Newton's finest. I appreciate what you do. I know that everybody in the community does. And I hope that people watch and get an opportunity to get to know who Josh is a little bit more and what he does and where his heart's at. And we'll catch you next time, everybody. Have a good week.